What is up, all you do-it-yourselfers? My name is Dylan Taylor. This is Dylan's DIY Workshop, and today is going to be the first video in a small series on how I made this ridiculous workbench with this very thick top. In today's video, it is going to be how I made the actual tabletop, so if you're not interested in that, wait for the next video, and if you really don't want to see it split up into several parts with decently long videos, just wait for them all to be out, and I will be making one video at the end of the entire build with no narration, just to cater to the people who don't want to sit through absolutely every detail and have it explained. If you just want to see how it was made, wait for that video. There will be one of the entire thing, but if you are here looking to make your own or want to see how certain parts of it were done, today's video is the tabletop. So with that, enjoy the video. So far I have these two 8x8s, and I don't know how much of this video I've already narrated, but let's start off with the fact that they were very dirty. This one in particular, but I believe I flipped over the dirty part. The way that I cleaned these off, just so that they wouldn't ruin my tool, the brand new planer, then I didn't want the teeth to get all chewed up by dirt, because that'll ruin things very quickly. I took a wire brush and cleaned as much of the dirt off as I could on the other side. This one, I have already ran the planer across a few times, as you can see by the pile of dust. Essentially, this is what I'm making my tables out of. These are the only two pieces I have. I got them from my boss because they were leftovers from a job that we did at work, and they were kind of just sitting in his yard, and I said, hey, I need something to build a tabletop. But he wasn't using them, so he was gracious enough to give them to me. There's something that would probably cost something around $50 if you wanted to get these two pieces, but I did get them for free, so I'm going to use what I have. You could probably, if you were paying for them, choose sizes that would be best for you. But I'm going to make this table 24 by 48, and by doing that, I'll get a 48-inch piece here. I'll have an 18-inch cutoff and a 21-inch cutoff. Those two pieces will go here and here, so there will be about an 8 by 10 gap in the middle that I will either fill with a piece of wood, wrap it in a piece of plexiglass and have a light under it, or do something else, and I haven't entirely figured out what I'm going to do with that. The first step is to get one of these kind of flat all the way along so that I can glue it all together, and then I will plane the rest of the top after this whole thing's together. I just want the glue faces to be as best as possible, and I did actually go out and buy this tool because my planer couldn't fit an 8x8 through it, so I'm going to do my best with this, and now I have this brand new tool to use on any other jobs that require one of these. I don't know how this moved, and, oops. Good Lord. Okay, so back to the shop. I have planed both sides of each of these small ones, and a full length on both sides of this one, and one side on that one, which should be perfect. Instead of having a gap in the middle, I'm going to have a gap at the end, and at some point, someday, make a big vise that closes into the table and the faces. That'll be an after project. Aren't cut perfectly square, so they won't sit wonderfully, But once I got them both sitting on that flat surface and the flattened surface underneath, I realized this one was higher than this one. So what I've been doing is taking small passes off of this one. We could set this on top. This is going to be our tabletop. Right now it's on its side. I'm actually really happy with that. If you come over here and look at it, that's pretty solid. And when I run this threaded rod through it, it'll keep it right tight. I'm gonna put maybe 4. I was thinking 2 at the beginning, but that's before I changed my mind about how this whole thing would go. So I'm thinking maybe 2 through this small chunk, 2 through that small chunk, so nothing can pivot. Not that they'd be able to if you had 1 here and 1 here. That flat edge would keep them from doing that. But to completely remove any chance of that, I think I'll cut 4 threaded rods, 2 here, 2 here, tighten it all down, and that will keep anything from moving. And I will then put a plug in the ends. I can't entirely get these completely flat with just these hand tools without spending either an incredible amount of time or having, well, I guess with these tools I don't have the bigger tools. So this so far is pretty good to me. Now they don't need to be completely flush this way, because once it's all one solid top, that's where we're going to take an extreme amount of time and get this completely flat, and that is where we'll take the most of our time. But for right now, I think this is almost good enough. Have a new bottle of glue. I have those. I just got to cut them to length, drill some holes in these, and we should be good. Because I'm going to have a big washer and I need to be able to countersink the bolt. This right here, the end of it, the washer right here to add more pressure, because it's wood, right? Like you need a washer to disperse that pressure. Whatever size washer I have, I actually need to pre-drill that hole first, Forstner bit with a flat bottom hole. So now I need to sink this enough that the nut can sit on top, and then I want it even a bit deeper than that so that I can put a plug in the end of this hole, and I will make that on my lathe because I don't have an 1 3/8 plug cutter. Okay, there we go. I'm also right now going to show you how to drill this perfectly centered over this in case you frick it up like I did. Now I still have the center point right there for the auger bit, right there. I still have the center point for that to follow, but I don't have a center point for this guy to follow, so it's gonna jump all over the place. So what you could do in that case is you take another piece of wood, drill, well, it's prettier on this side, you drill that same hole through with the Forstner bit, and then you position that directly over the middle of this hole here. So if you want, you can draw crosshairs on this top hole, on this piece right here. You could draw crosshairs on that first and then line it up with your crosshairs on the other hole, or in this case I'm just going to line it up as best as I can by eye. And so what this allows you to do is guide this Forstner bit. You can even clamp this down if you're afraid that it's going to jump all over the place. If the hole gets started, it's perfectly fine. So I'm going to stand on it. Okay, so I just stood on it, and that is the hole that we have now. It's not exactly perfect. It's a little bit crooked over here. It's further over here than it is over here, but we should be able to make that work. And now that I've drilled that far into it, well, not with one hand, but I can drill the rest without using that jig. Just testing before I go any further, I've drilled all the holes in this beam right here with the Black & Decker saw, drill. Pretty sure by the end of this I'll burn that out. I've made sure that that went through and it goes through absolutely perfectly. It's got enough wiggle that by the time I do all of these by hand, it should work. If not, we'll just crank down on the bolts hard enough. So I've got those 4 holes drilled all the way. I've got the counter bore, first hole, the one that the washer and the nut go in. Now it is time to do the other 2 holes in those 2, and then all 4 holes in this bottom one. I will come back to you guys when I'm done that. They should all line up if you watch the way that I lined them up. I had them all stacked up how I wanted them, and I used a large speed square to draw lines down them, and then also across from that point and to the 4-inch mark right there. And I registered the 4-inch mark all from the bottom because these aren't all necessarily completely 8 inches, so I registered them all from the same surface. So I lined all the bottoms up nice and tight, and then that is where I measured from. Up, not ideal, but you know, it's whatever. So we've got all the holes drilled, and now's the moment of truth. We set this whole thing up and we see if those rods will go through. Our table is 23 3/4 wide, and we want to be able to put a, let's say, 1/2-inch plug in each hot at inch and a half. You need to take 1.5 inches off of 23 3/4, so that's 23 1/4 minus 1 inch, 22 1/4. So we need 4 at 22 1/4. Proper safety technique would be a respirator, which most people don't ever wear. Safety glasses, which is absolutely important and everybody really should be wearing. Hearing protection, because you should have all 3 of these when you're doing anything, but you know, we all kind of skip things depending on what it is, unless we're doing it for, when it's something dangerous like this, I kind of like to wear all 3, especially when I'm in a confined space like this. I'm going to be making lots of metal shavings. I don't want to breathe it in. So I wear all 3 of these at the same time. 3M, hearing protection, German safety goggles from Lee Valley. These are amazing. They don't let any dust get in your eyes. And then this is also a 3M, it's a Honeywell North respirator.
If you're going to do this, and you're going to wear it all day, and you like to wear a ball cap, respirator, ball cap, safety glasses, hearing protection. That's the full combo. If you want to look like a crazy serial killer but also be really safe, that's the way to do it.
when you get something like this stuck, if it's threaded, your best bet is to loosen it, so reverse the thread and also pull at the same time, and eventually you should just be able to pull it out. It's gonna probably take some doing, but you'll get it out. See, there you go. What I failed to mention earlier is when you have a cut end like this, you're gonna want to file it or use the angle grinder to, you know, make it nice so that a nut can actually go on here, because if it's cut, typically there's a little bit of a burr, and that's a problem. Alright, so now that we've got those all the way on, we'll flip it over and it looks something like this. And at this point, all of these should be perfectly straight up and down, but they're not, but they will bend a little bit. And, you know, we're gonna make it work. So I'm gonna lather the glue on here and then drop these other two pieces on. And at that point, we don't have very long before we can jam that last piece on and put more glue on. Okay, looking for my eyeball protection here. I don't know if Javi's woodshop. Javi, if you still watch my videos, I'm watching your stream over there on the shop studio TV. So when I was in
on little screen, Javi.
that is a lot, but you know, your sense. Okay, so. That's as far as that's gonna go. I've marked it top and bottom. That's the bottom there, so this piece goes on here. Now that we've put the glue on here, we don't really have... Ooh, that's not lining up very nicely, but it'll bend, and it's gonna have to bend a lot. Okay. That worked almost too easy. Okay, so you know how we have two bolts that actually go through. It's not that guy, it's that one, not that one, and that one. So we've got that one and that one, so that spreads it out pretty good. Problem with this guy here is it sticks out there, and that guy sticks out in such a random spot. If I had done this with the drill press, it would have been perfect. If I had a sharper drill bit, taken my time, it might have been a little bit better. But now that we're kind of dealing with the fact that this is together, this one and this one are tight, so it is holding the wood together as tight as it possibly can. So let that dry until tomorrow, and we'll see how it goes. We'll plane the top, we'll plane the bottom, we'll flip it over. And then we have to figure out how the heck we're going to build legs for this. Okay guys, that is going to be it for this video. The tabletop, so if you want to see how we actually built the legs, how we built the rest of it, how it's starting to be finished, because as of right now, it's not even completely done. If you want to see all of that, stay tuned to the next video. But that is going to be it for this video, guys. I want to give a huge thank you to all of my Patreon supporters for allowing me to be creating these videos and all these projects to share with you guys. So thank you to all of my Patreon supporters, and a special thank you to Randy, Robinbert, and Mike Maxwell. You guys are amazing. Those are the top tier Patreon supporters, and if you want your name shout out in every single video, check out my Patreon page. I will put a link to it in the top right corner of the screen. Alright guys, that is going to be it for this video. If you guys are new, please subscribe. If you're already subscribed, please share this video with a friend, and as always, if you enjoyed the video, give it a big old thumbs up. We'll see you guys all next time. Peace out.